Hello and welcome to the Film Pulse Podcast. This is episode number 425. My name's Adam Patterson. With me today, we got Kevin Rakestraw. Hey, Kevin.
Hi.
This week on the show, we'll be reviewing Denis Villeneuve's Dune. Gonna get a little crazy with Dune. We'll also be going over some we're watching on the watch list and this week's new releases in theaters, VOD, and Blu-ray. Thanks so much for joining us this week. Please remember to review us on iTunes if you get a moment. That'd be very helpful. Hope to get the new Saved by the 90s out. This week I had some issues at home. They're building a house on our street, and so there's all these construction workers and stuff, and these idiots, Kevin, these idiots put in one of those giant dumpster things, like the long ones.
Yeah.
And they put it not on the owner's property, no. So it's like a cul-de-sac that I live in, and there's a middle part, like a circular patch of grass, and they put all of their equipment and bricks and lumber and this giant dumpster thing there in that middle part, which isn't the owner's property, by the way. And when they did that, they ended up tearing my internet line, my cable line. So I lost internet.
Incredible.
Basically all week. So this was Tuesday morning, so I lost internet the whole week.
Wow.
Yeah, I got it back on Friday. Friday. Late Friday. But it's a temporary thing. So they have to actually come out and rerun the whole line. They got to dig up the street and everything.
Incredible.
Yeah, because these morons.
Fuck.
So anyway, got a little delayed because of that, but I hope to have the new Saved by the 90s out this week, just in time for Halloween. All right, let's talk about some Dune. I have a synopsis here. Feature adaptation of Frank Herbert's science fiction novel about the son of a noble family and trusted with the protection of the most valuable asset and most vital element in the galaxy. Kevin, now you were pretty excited for this one.
Yeah.
So we'll start it with you. We'll start with you. What were your initial impressions of Dune?
I had pretty high hopes, but I think my expectations were grounded. I didn't think that this was going to be absolutely insane. It was gonna blow my mind or anything.
What I was gonna say a moment ago and just stop myself was that I had very low expectations. I was not very excited for this movie. So I just want that. I want to set that stage.
I think the biggest thing for this, because this was something that me and my wife were discussing, because she's really into sci-fi. She reads a lot of sci-fi, and the biggest issue that she always has is sci-fi novels. Most of them are very, very thick, and usually the reason for that is all the world building.
Mm-hmm.
You have descriptions of landscapes, interiors, architecture, the tech, the socio-political climate, all these things. It just takes hundreds of pages to describe everything, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the thing is you as a reader, you get to partake in that, and you kind of build your own world alongside the author, visually in your mind. So a lot of times the issue is then when you finally see something, a visual adaptation, it might not live up to what you envisioned.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I think another thing that is the issue here, because I see some people saying that this movie's a bit maybe hollow or a little bit empty or vapid. But I think the strong suit is he does such a wonderful job with world building, to the point that he does such a great job that it's difficult to translate hundreds of pages of describing in order to world build, where here you get to see it in 2 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
but I thought all the landscapes, the architecture, the interiors, I thought all of it was just phenomenal.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I think that I was very surprised. As I said, I went into this very low expectations. I did not like Lynch's Dune. I'm not particularly interested in the Dune story in general. I never read the books. Is it just one book, or was it a series?
There's a series of
That's what
books.
I thought, but see, I don't even know. So I knew very like cursory information about Dune from what I remembered of the Lynch one, and then also playing the Dune video game, which was like I think the first real time strategy game. It was the one. It was like the precursor to Command and Conquer and Warcraft. But anyway,
Okay.
I loved the Dune game. It was great. Get the spice harvesters going. Oh, so I was pretty blown away. Like I don't see how you can watch this movie and not be completely gobsmacked at the visuals. I mean, holy shit. Like it's incredible. Like this is I expected it to be a visual feast, but oh my god, it's like 2.5 hours of just absolutely gorgeous cinematography. I mean, it's just out of control.
Like
Like just
the
out of control.
yeah, I mean like the effects work is just incredible.
It's so detailed. Like the level of detail in everything in this movie, everything feels so real and thought out. Even the smallest details, like when they're in the space, the little like shuttle things. And they said the name of them, but I can't remember. Like the dragonfly looking things.
Hmm.
How you can see all of like the dials and gauges and everything, and it all looks like it has a purpose, in that it's not just set dressing, like it's not just a prop. It looks like it has a function. And you can say the same thing about like the clothes, like the suits that they wear that recycle the water, and the that awesome the sand compressor thing, like
Hmm.
that, and like the thumper thing. Like I could just go on and on and on with all of the tiny little elements of this movie, and it's just, and that's really what hooked me in this. Like
Yeah.
that's what engaged me through this 2.5 hour plus experience, was just the incredible world building and the attention to detail, and it was just stunning.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And I think like for me, I was so taken aback by that I was just enjoying being in the world
Mm-hmm.
and seeing the tech and see because like even like the dragonfly helicopter type deal, like you could have easily just shown that from a distance.
Yeah.
And you didn't really have to show the inside too much, but like there's close-ups of the wings engaging
Yeah, like
and
how it works.
disengaging
Like
and breaking. Yeah.
you can see how it works, and it feels very practical. Like, oh yeah, like someone could actually build that thing and it would work, at least in the way that it's displayed. I mean, I don't know if that's true or not, but like
Yeah.
with the way that you see the hinges at where like the propeller things like fold in, like it all just, it looks like every little aspect was thought out.
Yeah, it looks like you actually had some engineers
Mm-hmm.
like develop like okay, maybe it wouldn't actually work in the real world,
Yeah,
but on
it's
paper they got it to like, hey, this could work.
also, there's like, yeah, I mean, like, is it a practical thing? I don't, in the real world, I don't know how practical something like that would be, but you
It
know,
seems
it makes,
super dangerous.
yeah, but it makes a lot more sense in this world because of like the sand and dust and the craziness, the harshness of the environment. It seems like those little things would be more conducive to that type of, anyway. The Yeah, so I loved all that stuff. I understand what people are saying about like the hollowness of it from a narrative perspective, but the thing is, I do give it a pass, and maybe it makes me slightly hypocritical because this is something that I complain about a lot with movies, knowing that this is part one, and knowing that this is
Yeah.
basically the foundation, this is the setup. And I know that like just a few weeks ago with Halloween Kills, I complained about how that movie ended, and that I don't like that. And I can't really articulate why I give this movie a pass, but I think that I just am okay with it because I understand the scale. Like, I know that this is an epic, huge movie that I don't want them to rush it. I don't want them to squeeze in this whole, giant story within 1.5 hour movie. Like, I would rather Villeneuve like really take his time and just flesh out every little aspect of this world. So in that regard, I'm actually okay with how this was. With that being said, I think that being over 2.5 hours, it's still, I feel like it could have been slimmed down a bit. Like, I feel like there's way too many of those like visions that Chalamet has.
That was, I don't have a lot of complaints about this movie, but I feel in my heart that's the number one. That was the number one issue that I had. Is there's so many of these dream/visions that he has. They're all kind of shot in that like cinematic slow-mo type deal where it's just, and after a while they felt pretty redundant too.
Yeah.
Because I don't know how many, I know that I'm exaggerating, but it felt like there's like 15 shots of her just turning around and looking at him like that. Like that, it felt like that was just used over and over and over again.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, the first time, I feel like, okay, we get it. Like, I understand that you want to show that he has like this ability to kind of see into the future and all of that stuff, but it's just, I think it's overdone, and I think that it causes the runtime to feel a bit bloated, and every time it also causes a bit of a, at least for me, a bit of a pacing issue where you're having this great momentum within the story, and like all of a sudden he has one of his like visions. You're just like, all right, come on, let's just get this over with and get back to the actual story here.
Yeah, it's like, we get it.
Yeah, and it's like, truthfully, like, I don't really care. Like, I don't really care the vision he has, and then like what he decides that he has to do to like change the future or whatever. Like, I don't really care about that. So, but it's also interesting that I went into this like remembering Dune being all about like the politics, like the different houses and all the political strife and all that stuff. And as a kid watching Lynch's Dune, I was just not having it. I was just bored to tears, and I was afraid that that's how this one was going to be. And it sort of is, but at the same time, I found the kind of political aspect of it to be much more palatable than like Lynch's version.
I think, and I can imagine some people will take issue with this, but I feel like him and his writing team did a fairly good job of kind of reducing it down to the basics and keeping it far more, I think it's easier to follow for a wider audience than to drag down everything with, very, very detailed point by point politics of, the houses and the spice trade and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And I thought he did a bit. I mean, I could have used a little bit more, but it wasn't something that I was like, man, they really fucked it up there.
I think maybe more of that will be like the political intrigue will be introduced in the second part, but I don't know. I think that they did a good job of just laying out the groundwork for all of this.
I think a lot of it comes down for me that I'm far more forgiving of a lot of things in this movie because of the world building.
Oh yeah, I mean, same. Like, again, I had zero expectations. I actively do not like the Dune story. At least I thought. And then as soon as I saw, like, I was just so into this. Like, I was 100% on board. The long runtime didn't bother me. Like, I was sad to see it end. I was ready for part 2. Like, as soon as this was over, I was so into it.
There was a part of me that kind of forgot that. So when like they're walking, and like, oh, this is just the beginning, And then, the credits are, I was like, what? How do you end a movie like that? I was like, oh yeah, that's right. This is
It does say part one in its opening title,
yes,
so they
yes.
knew what they were. I don't know, like, do we have a budget for this? Because holy crap, it seemed. I mean, as
Yeah.
far as like 2021 movies, oh yeah, 165 million. That's a huge budget. Yeah, I mean, as far as like big movies go for 2021, this has to be like the most
Yeah,
expensive looking movie I've seen this year.
but I think like I feel like, I mean, I don't know finances in terms of movies and stuff, but I feel like that money was well spent. Like
Yeah, I mean,
what they got for that money is like, wow, it looks incredible.
yeah,
Like,
and
I mean, this is just great effects. Where there's other movies where, you have that huge budget and you're like, how did this movie cost that much?
yeah, it was all like shot on a soundstage,
Yeah.
a green soundstage. This movie was actually like shot in the like this uses real locations, and there's a lot of practical effects in this movie too. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that you obviously can't do practically or wouldn't look good, like the sandworms and some of the
Yeah.
buildings and stuff like that. But like a lot of it is done practically, and it just looks so good. Like I just want to keep rehashing how good this movie looks. Like that initial flyover when they first get to the planet and they're flying over the city, and it just like you can see so much detail in each little building, and it just I was just blown away. Just,
That's what I mean. Like
and
some
like,
of this,
sorry, go ahead.
the effects work is so good that it looks and feels practical. Like those Dragonfly helicopters, they look like they built Dragonfly helicopters.
Yeah, yeah. It's so impressive. It really is. And like even in the scenes where there's like the action scenes are like the destruction is done so beautifully. Like just the lighting, like the explosions and how like the orange of the like fireballs is just reflecting off of everything, and like that scene, that one scene that has all of the like bombs and stuff, those like crazy
Yeah. And
like boring type bombs that are like going through the shields and like
with the
holy shit.
I forgot to mention that I love the force field effect
Oh my god, yeah. It's
in
awesome.
this movie. Yeah, and I think that's just another thing that he really excels at is size and scope. Like when they get invaded, it feels fucking massive.
Yeah. It's wild. It is absolutely wild. So yeah, I highly recommend Dune. I was so surprised. So I was really blown away by it, honestly. Like I really can't believe it. And I'm not like a huge fan of Timothée Chalamet either. So like he's fine, but I was concerned about I thought that he was going to be distracting to me because I was sure that I was going to see the actor rather than the character, and that does happen. But
it does have it. For whatever reason, like when he tries to do this serious brooding, like it just doesn't work for me.
I think he's a really good actor. I don't know. For some reason, there was that disconnect where I really couldn't see the character in him. I just more than anything, I just saw it as him, as the actor. But you know, it is what it is. That's more of a me problem. I think he does a good job. In fact, everybody I think on the cast does a good job. Oscar Isaac is great. He plays Chalamet's dad, the Duke. You got Stellan Skarsgård in here as the Baron. And man, what a character there with that spine thing.
Mm-hmm.
Every time that thing would turn on,
and his little bath.
Yeah. Oh yeah, like the oil thing. Yeah.
Ugh. And him eating.
Oh yeah.
Disgusting. Goddamn disgusting.
I mean, this is an absolutely stacked cast. I mean, there's so many people in here: Josh Brolin, Rebecca Ferguson, Jason Momoa, Zendaya, Stephen McKinley Henderson, Javier Bardem, Dave Bautista, Charlotte Rampling.
I didn't even know Javier Bardem was in this movie. So that was a complete surprise when he showed up. I was like, wait.
Yeah, yeah. There's I didn't know Charlotte Rampling was in here. That was kind of a surprise. David Dismalchian
Yes, I
in
was
there
happy to see him.
as a creepy. I love like that whole side. I can't remember the name.
The Harkonnens.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
whole with that creepy spider thing. Like, what was that? That was
Yeah, that's another thing that I enjoy is they invested in that spider thing, which is just their pet, and it just has a screen time of like a second.
mm-hmm.
And then you just see like the backside and then it leaves.
Yeah, I wonder if that thing's gonna be coming back.
I have a feeling probably. And it's gonna be disgusting.
I wonder if it's gonna be like if there's gonna be a lot of them. You know, like there's gonna be a giant war, and they're
Oh,
gonna bring
no.
it, and there's gonna be like a whole spider squad.
I hope not.
Yeah. Yeah. So incredible cast. Everybody did a fantastic job. I was sad to see Batista as a bad guy. I always want to see him as a good guy, but he was good nonetheless. I think that he'll have a larger role in the sequels. But yeah, everybody else was good.
Oh yeah.
Anything else to add?
No, I don't think so. I mean, it's just like the effects work and the attention to detail here, and just everything translates so well and looks so good. Like the force fields and the like I said, the interiors, like everything just looks great.
Yeah, absolutely. So I would highly recommend Dune. It is in theaters and on HBO Max. I think it's on HBO Max until November 21st, I think it said. Something like that. So you do have a decent amount of time to watch it. Highly recommend it. Let's go ahead and give it a score. Kevin, what are you going to give Dune?
Dude, I'm gonna give Dune an 8.
I'm also giving Dune an 8. Probably one of my favorite movie experiences this year. So definitely recommend checking it out.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk about some of what we've been watching. What do you got on your list? What's first up?
I got Demons from 1985.
Demons.
Umberto Bava.
Yeah, we were just talking about this. Was it last
We were.
week?
And that's what Kickstarter is. I was like, I'm finally going to sit down and watch Demons. Because this is it's on Shudder, but it's also on Mubi. So this is 80s as hell. Just a crazy 80s soundtrack. And it's just really, really simple in that there is this movie house opens up. This guy's just handing out complimentary tickets like, hey, come see this movie. They don't even know what movie it is, but people they show up in droves. They're like, hey, let's check this out. This is cool. This building's open back up. And there's this mask. It's like a metal mask that if you put it on, it'll cut you and you turn into a demon. And of course, someone puts it on. And the movie that they're watching, the same thing happens in the movie that they're watching. So you have this kind of like interesting thing from the outset of them watching the movie, and the same thing is happening to them in the theater. So they're essentially like figuring it out through the movie. But then that ends, and it's just them trying to survive inside the movie house with people getting picked off one by one and turning into demons. And it's phenomenal in a couple of different ways. One of which is the effects work. You have a lot of transformation effects going on. Like, people's nails get super long, so there's close-ups of that. It's kind of like werewolf transformation effects, but they're turning into demons. There's a lot of like blue goo and pus coming out of people's mouths, pustules exploding on their faces. There's a super close-up of like two front fangs pushing out the old teeth and as they're coming in, and it looks good. Like and it's super close up. You got these disgusting sounds, these wet guttural sounds that are just fucking disgusting, and people just getting ripped apart. There's one guy, a demon comes from behind, and you know how a Hulk Hogan would tear a shirt in half?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
This demon does that to a guy's throat from the back.
Ooh.
Just nails in the front, like in the middle, and then just rips it open. And I mean, what more do you want?
Not a whole lot.
It ends there's kind of like this display in the lobby of, for some reason, it's like a samurai guy on a dirt bike holding a samurai sword, and he has the mask that turns you into a demon. I don't know who came up with that setup, but essentially that's what's utilized at the end is they jump on that dirt bike. It's got full gas, full tank. It's ready to go. And apparently that's a real samurai sword because he uses it to just hack up the demons.
Nice.
And they drop a helicopter through the roof, which is fucking nuts. Like, you gotta watch it. It's phenomenal.
Yeah, I'm looking for something to watch this afternoon, so maybe that'll be it.
It better be demons.
All right. So that's Demons. Speaking of movies that we talked about on the show, I watched The Incredible Shrinking Man from 1957.
There you go.
Yeah. So saw this on Peacock because
Peacock's turning out.
They actually have a lot of horror movies on there right now. They have like a lot of the Nightmare on Elm Street movies, all of the Child's Play movies. There's a lot of stuff on there right now. So The Incredible Shrinking Man, directed by Jack Arnold. This I for whatever reason I like movies that involve people shrinking.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why. Now I didn't see the one with Matt Damon because I heard it was really bad, downsizing or whatever.
Oh yeah,
I heard that was like horrible. So because they didn't really capitalize on the tiny person mechanic, from what I understand. At any rate, this movie's awesome. Like, they did a really good job with the effects. So a lot of it is this kind of like forced perspective stuff, and a lot of it is like composited stuff, like, what they had back in the 50s. But a lot of the stuff is just giant sets that they built, with oversized items, and it all looks really good. I mean, it's a very convincing effect for the most part. So I can imagine that when this first came out, it was probably mind-blowing. This was like Dune. This was like what people saw like in 57 and were like, holy crap, it was so real. What you have here is this guy who is out on a boating trip with his girlfriend, and there's some sort of radioactive cloud, basically looks like glitter, that gets all over him, and he starts shrinking. And it's like it's like a small thing. It's not all like right away. Like, he's just like every day he gets a little bit smaller, and they figure out a way to stop it. And so it stops, and he's just like he's like a grown man, but he's like the size of a kid. So he's like 4 feet tall, maybe a little bit less. And he's like that for a while, like quite a while. And he ends up meeting a woman who calls herself, quote, a midget, even though it's just a regular sized person. Like, in real life, they just made her like a little bit smaller. So that was a little bit, 50s style insensitivity there. But eventually the formula wears off and he starts shrinking again. And through a series of events, he gets like lost, and he continues to shrink until he's just nothing. Like, he just goes to like an atomic level and he's just gone. That's the end of the movie. He just shrinks into nothing.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a pretty crazy ending, actually. Like, I didn't expect it. Like, I totally expected a standard Hollywood ending where they make some kind of drink and give it to him when he goes back to normal, but that's not what happens. It gets very existential at the end, and he just shrinks into oblivion. And the other thing is, like, he turns into like this total asshole for some reason. Like, he lives in a dollhouse, and I think that it's just like he's so emasculated because he's scared of spiders can kill him and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I would imagine. I mean, life in general is just pretty stressful.
Yeah,
I can't imagine how it would be like. I mean, insects suck when you're 6 foot tall.
Yeah. Well, he's kind of a dick though. Like, he's not good to his girlfriend, and he sees the error of his ways towards the end, though.
Yeah.
Anyway, I would recommend checking it out if you haven't seen The Incredible Shrinking Man, because it's quite good.
And but also, how do you break up with a guy that's shrunk down to the size that he's living in a
Oh, she's
dollhouse?
great. I mean, she takes care of him all the time. Like she's very doting
I would
fiance.
imagine that you wouldn't want to.
Yeah.
But how do you know how do you end that?
Well, there's also this whole thing where like the tabloids like figure it out, so he becomes famous too for
Oh
being
boy,
for being a tiny man who's shrinking every day.
incredible. I saw a classic horror story. This is on Netflix. Apparently, this is from this year.
Yeah, it came out over the summer.
Really?
Yeah.
That was odd choice. Odd choice to do that. I was surprised by this. I mean, I had super low expectations going in because all the reviews were bad. It was just bad.
I liked it.
And I was like, all right, we'll see. But yeah, I enjoyed this actually. I thought it was pretty creepy. It was excessively gory in some parts, like some fucked up shit happening.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Had some interesting twists. Some really disturbing imagery, like the stuff that they find in the woods. You know, it's just even just the house itself is creepy with the alarms and the speakers and everything. Like it's just unsettling all over.
Mm-hmm.
And then they have the little bit of a twist at the end there. And going into this, I didn't realize that Matilda Lutz was like the main character, which like what is this now? Like three, I think, horror films or horror adjacent films that I've seen her in where like
She kills
she
it.
does a pretty damn good job.
Yeah, she's really good. I hope that she continues doing awesome things.
So yeah, if you got Netflix, I definitely check this out. I was really surprised by this.
Yeah, I remember liking it. All right, I saw. Let's see. We'll stick with the Netflix theme here. I saw The Trip. This is directed by Tommy Ricola. That's the same guy who did Hansel and Gretel, Witch Hunters, and he did the Dead Snow movies, which I liked both the Dead Snow movies quite a bit. This one, oh, he also did that What Happened to Monday movie that was a Netflix one that I saw part of that, but not the whole thing. So this is a horror comedy with Noomi Rapace and Axel Hennie. It's a Norwegian film. And so basically, it's about a married couple who are their relationship is being very strained. They're sort of on the outs, and they decide to go to this remote family cabin for the weekend. And it turns out the husband is planning to kill the wife, but guess what? The wife is planning to kill the husband, and this revelation happens pretty early on in the movie because it turns out that there's a whole other thing that's going on here involving a third party that I guess I won't spoil it. It's really violent, so it's like extremely violent, and I would say that like the action / violence looks good. Like it's well shot. The like the gore effects look good. But the movie itself, I found to be a bit lackluster. Like, I don't know. I just felt like maybe I just wasn't really in the right mood to watch a movie like this. But it's an extremely mean-spirited movie, which is fine. That's totally fine. The main problem I had with this, I felt like I've just seen movies like this before. Like, it didn't feel like there was much new here. I liked Noomi Rapace a lot. I like her in pretty much everything she's in, and I think she's a really good actress. And she does a lot of really physical stuff in this. I'm assuming, I mean, even if there's a stunt double for some of it, I think she still does a lot of physical stuff. But yeah, I don't know. It's just it's sort of middle of the road Netflix stuff for me, really.
Yeah, I got another Netflix thing. That's The Wind, directed by Emma Tammy.
Oh yeah, I saw this one too.
Oh, you did see this.
I did.
This is all right.
I wasn't really into it.
I could have used a little bit more. in terms of like the supernatural stuff. But I gotta say, like the location and like the production design of this movie, I thought was pretty phenomenal. Um, it's most of the supernatural stuff that they did include was creepy enough. I just could have used a bit more. You know what I mean? I think I appreciate what they went for in terms of this kind of just being like infiltrating the minds of these women because they already have this really difficult time of the location that they're in is very isolated. There's only the two of them. You know, they only have each other. You know, they have these expectations. And, you know, of course, the demon, the wind demon, kind of, you know, gets to him. And I mean, wind is fucking annoying as shit. And I can't imagine being out on the prairie, hearing that shit all the time, day in, day out, and no one being around. That'd drive me fucking nuts. I mean, one day alone here with heavy wind, I get pissed off.
You just want to shoot that wind. Shoot that wind right in the face.
I would, if I could. So this is another one that I was pleasantly surprised by. Like I really had low expectations. I thought it was just going to be really laborious, and it is a slow mover. But I think overall, what it sets out to do, it does well.
Nice. All right, that's The Wind on Netflix. Check it out on there. I saw Titane. This is the one that's got a lot of buzz. Directed by Julia DeCarno. Probably mispronouncing that. Apologies. She's the woman who directed Raw, which I really loved. Raw. So had very high expectations. High expectations for Titane because I heard some really crazy shit about it. And yeah, that's correct. It is a crazy ass movie. Like it's a movie that you will definitely remember. That's for sure. You're not going to forget what happens in this anytime soon. It's wild. It's even wilder to me that this is France's entry for the 2022 Oscars.
Love it.
I really can't. I mean, when you see this movie, you're just like, wow. So it's hard to really even describe what this movie's about. It stars what's her name? Agatha Roussel, and she plays a dancer who, when she was a child, she was in a really bad car accident that resulted in her having a large titanium plate put into her head, and she has this like crazy looking scar above her ear because of it. And it kind of like, I don't know, she seemed a little bit messed up as a child, but this event really kind of messed her up. And so you have that, and then you also have this serial killer story that happened, and then you also have this guy played by Vincent Linden, who he's a captain he's a firefighter, and he finds his long lost son. And I'm trying to be like really cryptic with like how I say everything, because I feel like it's best to go into this movie cold, because there's a lot of like very sharp turns that it takes, and I think that you'll benefit from experiencing those, you know, just without knowing too much. It's very Cronenberg-esque. I think that it's impossible not to draw those parallels with a Cronenberg. So there's a lot of like kind of body horror elements to it, but it's a movie that it's a very like contemplative movie. Like it really makes you explore a lot of different topics like love and companionship and just a lot of different elements. And it's very bizarre. It's very disturbing at times, but I kind of loved it. So highly recommend checking out Titane. I believe that it is available on VOD right now.
Looking forward to this.
That's fucking wild.
Unfortunately, the movie that I have to follow up with yours is very ho-hum,
Oh no.
lackluster.
Oh no.
It's 1922. Zach Hilditch. This is also on Netflix. This is based on the Stephen King novella. It's essentially just kind of like a reimagining of Edgar Allan Poe's The Telltale Heart, with which places Thomas Jane in 1922 in Nebraska. He's a farmer, and his wife inherits 100 acres of her dad's farm. So he kind of blends his farm in with her farm. He's living the life. He's loving it. He loves being a farmer. She does not. She wants to sell it and move to the city and open up a dress shop. So Thomas Jane kind of manipulates his son into helping him kill his wife, throwing her down in a well. And then they get to just keep doing their farm stuff and just live the life. But everything falls apart after that happens. And it's a bit of a slog.
Mm.
It's not a whole lot going on. Thomas Jane just really, he goes for it with the accent. He's doing this like this big time farmer 1922 accent. Like it's something. It's something. It's a choice. It's a choice. I don't know whether he pulls it off as much as he thinks he does. I think he's really happy with it.
You nailed it, Thomas. That's what he's saying in his trailer. You nailed it, Tom.
I don't think anyone could argue with him and get him to see that maybe this wasn't the best choice. I think he's 100%, maybe 200% in his mind that he was absolutely phenomenal. Maybe he is. Maybe he's right and we're all wrong. I don't know. But everything just kind of falls apart. There's not a whole lot of like supernatural or horror elements to it. I mean, the him killing his wife is a little bit brutal, and there's some rat stuff going in. You get some rats doing their thing, climbing in people's mouths and stuff.
Mouth rat.
But other than that, it's no thank you.
All right. All right, I'll follow that one up with one that I thought was lackluster, and that's Old from M. Night Shyamalan. Saw Old. It's out on VOD right now. I didn't want to go to the theater to see this because I had a feeling that I wasn't going to be that into it. And as it turns out, I was not that into it. If you're not familiar, this is it's about a group of people who go to a private beach and discover that they are getting older. Like they're aging very, very rapidly. And this lends itself to some really interesting ideas that are in this movie. Like when you think about what it would be like to live in an area where time is accelerated, there's some really cool concepts there. Like, oh, what would happen if you break a bone? What would happen if you get a really bad cut? What would happen if you have a tumor? Like these are some of the concepts. What would happen if you got pregnant? Like these are some of the things that the movie explores, which I think are all like really cool things to look at. But where the movie, like, first of all, the script is horrible. Like, all the dialogue is atrocious. The writing is so bad. Like, I don't even understand how this happened. Like, I think that the script is so bad. The story itself is just it's just slightly dull. Like, the core concept is really cool, but where it goes, I feel like it just doesn't have that much to say. And the characters are also very shallow, one note, not very interesting. The camera work is quite good. I would say that the cinematography is very compelling. Like, really good job with the cinematography. And yeah, the rest of it is it's meh. Overall, it's just a meh thing. And some of the dialogue is laughably bad in this. So I really can't recommend Old. If you're going into it thinking that there's going to be some kind of like crazy Shyamalan twist, I think you're probably going to be disappointed with how it turns out. Also, I would note that this is based on a graphic novel, which I have not read, but I had heard that the graphic novel deals with the topic and this story in a much deeper way. So maybe check out the graphic novel instead. Or if you found the movie to be lackluster, maybe look into the graphic novel, because I'm gonna look into it and see.
Gotcha. Interesting. That's all I got.
All right. I'll mention one more. It's not a horror movie. There's some thriller elements to it, and that's The Card Counter. This is the new Paul Schrader movie. I gotta say, like, Paul Schrader, man, like, you know, a lot of times there's very few directors that like were like firing on all cylinders decades ago and then still managed to have it, you know, like still managed to be outputting the same quality. I think that there are obviously some exceptions like Scorsese, but
I think he's an interesting one because like he did dip, you know what I mean?
He dipped and then he came back.
Yeah, where it's just like, Jesus Christ, dude, like maybe just stop making movies. But now you're like, oh, okay, he found it.
Yeah, I mean, no matter what you think about his filmography, he's got a lot of really interesting work. The Card Counter is great. I pretty much loved every moment of it. It stars Oscar Isaac as a man who gets out of prison, and while in prison, he learns to count cards. So he becomes a professional gambler after he gets out of prison, and it turns out that I don't know what would be considered spoilers in this movie. I guess I won't really talk about why he was in prison, but he ends up meeting two people while doing his like sort of gambling circuit. He meets Tiffany Haddish, who is I can't remember what they call them, like stable hands or something, where they basically find professional gamblers and then link them with backers so that you have these like people who have money, and they basically will put up the cost to get into these like high stakes poker tournaments and stuff like that, and then they just split the money, the winnings, like 50-50. So so she hooks up with him, and then also you have Ty Sheridan, who plays the son of a man who commits suicide after he experienced the kind of horrors of being a contractor in Abu Ghraib, and it like really messed him up. And then after the whole Abu Ghraib thing came out, he ended up going to prison, and then when he got out, he had like a drug addiction and stuff. So basically Ty Sheridan's character is looking to hunt down this military colonel who he believed to be responsible for the atrocities in Abu Ghraib, and he's going to torture and kill him. And this colonel is played by Willem Dafoe. So these three, this sort of motley crew, go on this like poker tour to try to win all this money. So like Oscar Isaac sort of takes Ty Sheridan under his wing and wants to like provide for him financially and try to get him to not want to kill this man.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot more to it than that, but I'm kind of skirting around a lot of the details. It's really good. I would highly recommend it. All right, let's take a look at what we have in theaters this week. Antlers is coming out, the horror film. Into Antlers? You want to check it out? Want to check out Antlers?
Yeah, baby.
That's it for theaters. VOD.
Wow.
Well, you know how it is. VOD this week. Let's see. On the 25th, we have Surge. Then on the 26th, Ryan's birthday, we have Time Out, The Crickets Dance. Those crickets just dancing along. We got Snakehead. That's on the 29th. Also on the 29th, we have The Spine of Night, which I would recommend checking out. That's the one that was hand rotoscoped,
Nice.
crazy, uber, ultra violent fantasy movie. We got They're Outside, Joyride, Broken Darkness.
Oh no.
Yeah. That's all I have for VOD on my list. I don't see anything for Netflix, so there's probably something dropping on Netflix that they like just didn't alert me about.
I like something drop. They're gonna drop like 37.
Yeah,
maybe.
there's going to be multiple things. Actually, let's just quickly look and see what's on the calendar here. Army of Thieves. That's going to be dropping on Netflix. That's the Army of the Dead prequel.
Yeah.
I'm actually interested in that because that character, the safe cracker character, was one of my favorites in that movie. So that should be a fun movie. Also on Netflix is the Time It Takes and Colin in Black and White. It's like some sort of Colin Kaepernick documentary.
Oh yeah.
So there you go. That's Netflix. What I should do is just we'll have it like a separate section because there's so much stuff dropping on Netflix all the time. All right. Blu-ray this week. We got Blood for Dracula from 1974. That's going to be in 4K. Got the new Suicide Squad movie dropping in 4K as well. Let's see, Deep Red coming out on Arrow. That's a 4K release as well. One of my favorites. Oh man, and it looks like there's some other edition that's being released that has like that purple and orange. I used to have the poster for it, man. That's really cool. From Dusk Till Dawn's coming out in 4K. Fritz the Cat is getting a new Blu-ray release. Hated that movie. We got Steel Dawn from 1987. That's going to be on the Vestron Collector Series. Patrick Swayze.
Ooh yeah.
Killer Party from 1986. Ooh, have to check that out. Love me some 80s horror. Got Ticks coming out in 4K. Wow.
Yeah.
Is that a Vinegar? Yeah, it is a Vinegar Syndrome. I knew it. I can't believe they did. I mean, there's like so many. There's so many classics that have not been converted to 4K, and then Vinegar Syndrome's like, we got Ticks. Love it.
Man. Incredible.
We got Don't Breathe 2 coming out. Children of the Damned from 1964. Shallow Grave from 1984. The 9 Lives of Fritz the Cat, which is the sequel. Didn't see the sequel because I hated the first one so much. I Spit on Your Grave is getting a 4K release. That's the original 1978 one. Summer of '84 is coming out on 4K. That's the one from 2018. What's that group? The RKSS, the people who did Turbo Kid.
Mm.
That's their follow-up.
I forgot all about them.
Yeah. Summer of '84 was decent. Let's see. For Mad Men only, we got Duck, the Carbine High Massacre from 1999. Let's see what else we got here. Resurrection from 1999. Kid Candidate. Boarding House from 1982. Devil in the Deep from 1932. Megan is Missing from 2011. Ooh, looks like Arrow is putting out a Giallo Essentials collection here. Only 3 movies.
What?
Yeah, it's kind of a bummer.
Dude, big ass box set.
I know. Oh my god, I would totally buy that. So this little collection includes The Possessed, The Fifth Chord, and The Pajama Girl Case. These 3 releases are also, they came out individually like a while ago on Arrow. I have all 3 of these actually, so it's more like just a collected thing, not new releases. Oh my god, there's so many. Knife Plus Heart is coming out. Shattered Dead from 1994. Warning from earlier this year. 31. That's the Rob Zombie one. That's about it. What do we have on Criterion?
We have Debbie from 1960. Satyajit Rai's Devi from 1960.
Nice.
4K. The special features are a little
Ho-hum?
light, but
Little ho-hum?
I mean, there's a couple things on there. Some new stuff at least.
All right, cool. Well, I guess check that out then. That's going to do it for this week. Thank you so much for listening. You can send us your questions and topics to podcast@filmpulse.net. Follow us on Twitter @FilmPulseNet and @FilmPulseKevin. And if you have a minute, consider reviewing us on your podcast platform of choice. For Kevin Rakeshaw, my name's Adam Patterson. We'll see you next week.